starting off a new week, and I hope you are good to go to face the challenges ahead. I want to take a brief moment before we get into the content of the video itself, the painting and drawing, to mention how obsessed I am with this band that I found out about quite recently. It is called Sleep Token, and oh my, the elaborated composition, the layers, the soothing, almost divine voice mixed with some aggressiveness. So good. It got me. Oh yeah, I love it. And yeah, with that out of the way, I'm drawing. Look at that, how cool. I'm painting new outfits for my OC Diane. Granted, I'm doing it a little more stiff than I first imagined it doing, but that's because I am working in two main things separately. That being 1, the base clothing, and 2, the coat. There's the sword as well, but like the sword, I see it as an add-on to the whole thing, and I'm keeping the belts that hold it in place in mind while I'm doing the whole thing. This was recorded last week, and that's me just, chilling, trying not to think too much, Like I mentioned in my previous video about my OCs, I find a lot of comfort painting them. The hours put into creating those variations weren't without its challenges. The issue I'm trying to solve here, it's not an easy task, and is an interesting exercise. Although you see me try out varied ideas, I am mainly focusing on working within the parameters set by my previous concept of his design, which is pretty much what I wanted to, but some features just doesn't seem to go well together, which makes sense for his background in a way, because there are some things that represent his friendships, they were gifts, and some other things are related to his origin, which happened in a very distant place from where he is in this current time. So his design is bound to have that weird contrast, where things don't necessarily match. Not that they have to, but I'm keeping that in mind. I don't want everything to feel like it's, confusing. But anyway, back to the issue I'm trying to solve. I want these two to have an amazing oversized pirate-inspired dark coat that somehow doesn't cover the belts around his upper legs, which kinda has to be close to his thigh, not to flap around too much when he's running and stuff, right? It just looks nicer too, and part of the idea I have for his lower body is to have more belts dangling, so there has to be some balance here. Of course I could get rid of some of those, but I wanna try and keep it all and not make it look too cluttered. I asked myself, what if the coat was way shorter in the front part? But no, if this is a single cut going from the front to the back, it would have this weird round shape, which it had before. And I'm changing exactly that, so no, but what if the coat was separated in multiple parts then? Shorter shapes in front, not covering his thigh, and longer parts in the back, which would go kinda to the back part of his knee. I believe it would look nice flowing around him as he moves fast, or in those anime scenes with a lot of wind going on, the character is mysteriously walking to nowhere and there's a lot of wind and the coat is, so good. Anyway, that's kind of the thought process here. Other than that, I am just playing around. Honestly, some ideas here are just to see, for example, how Diane would look like if he had an outfit inspired by one of my favorite characters ever, Shonshu. There's one that is just to get an idea of how he would look if he would wear black instead of grey under it, which looks nice, but there's a lack of contrast with his darker arm, which could be interesting now that I think of it. By the way, one of his arms has this very dark cyan tone to it, as you can see. This is actually his skin. It's funny, I love imagining stories and adventures of my characters in this big journey that's going on in this dark fantasy world I am building, but I keep it most to myself, because I cannot build a proper narrative with my current skill set on writing. Wow, cool! Someday, however, you will definitely see me making some story with a proper narrative, and I don't know yet if it will be a book, if I wanna add something to my art book, or if I wanna make a comic or something. But until then, I'll keep making art of my lovely characters that I hold so close to my heart. It's fine to, come on, I don't have to set things in stone, things can change. I'm still, you know, just having some nice feeling for those stories. And is it bad that I keep revisiting my beloved main OCs instead of focusing on creating more visually appealing new characters? Well, I know I won't stop doing so, but maybe I should. Nah, it's my comfort, I need it. Nah, I'm good with it. In fact, next up I might as well revisit Azael design and just continue from the black and white sketches I made her some months ago. I just love working with those characters. Okay, so from here I was trying things for fun and some for real, as I mentioned it, and I had another issue to solve. Balancing the complexity of the main features of his clothing. What do I mean by that? Well, the belts are very complex if you analyze the shapes going on there. So if I'm going to keep that, I feel like I should make a simpler coat, because I need to have some breathing room for the whole thing, right? Since I do not want this coat to be plain either, I have to create some distance, both in terms of physical distance, but also in terms of visual, like some conceptual distance, you know? Both things aren't from the same origins, so I have to make this separation clear. That's going back to what I said in the very beginning of the video. I will also be using some vertical lines on the coat, so I can at least have something connecting the whole design. And speaking of vertical lines, Diane is a slim figure. The coat will bring some volume to his upper body, but I want to still show that this dude is not strong looking, right? That's part of the reason why we can still see his arms for most of those designs. The big sleeves are buttoned up, and it exposes a lot of contrast. It's important too that those sleeves can come down as well, because, well, he might need to hide his arm that could call some unwanted attention depending on where he is. Oh, there's also a hood there on the coat. You see it in the end of the video, on a little montage I made of all the outfits made here. From here I kinda had more of a clearer idea of what I wanted, especially for the coat, and I have the main shapes in place already, so I'll take time to play around with what's going on inside of those shapes, making it a unique coat. I go back and forth working on it, but one thing is for sure, I tried a lot of different stuff. I settled on using this symbol that is very important, is related to where this coat came from, so I was like, okay, I want to implement this into the coat, but how can I make this part of the coat without adding the actual symbol itself here? I figured I could use the same shape language of this thing to add details to the coat. Well, cool, great. It would look cluttered, however. How can I add a lot of information here without making this the center of attention? Well, I could make it so it seems to be made out of a different material, but in a very similar color to the rest of the things around it. I can just make sure it has some volume to it, but not a whole lot of contrast. Great, I tapped myself in the shoulder and I congratulated myself for that. And from there, I just kept working and trying things here and there. And this is pretty much it. I hope you liked this video, I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one, next week, alright? And do not forget to drink some water. I will do so myself right now, and have a good one. Ciao, ciao.